Good morning, Honorable Chairman of the Institute for Global Economics, Dr. Il-sa Gong, Minister of Unification, Woo Yu, former Deputy Finance Minister of Germany, Manfred Carstens, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Seung-ju Han, and distinguished scholars from around the world. Thank you for joining us today. I am very pleased that Korea Action Bank has the honor of co-hosting this meaningful conference with esteemed organizations such as the Institute for Global Economics, the Korea Development Institute, the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, and the Peterson Institute for International Economics. I would like to thank the organizers for their many efforts in preparing today's conference. And of course, I extend my warm welcome to today's speakers and panelists, especially those who have traveled from afar, for honoring this conference with their presence. The timing and the theme of this conference is very opportune, but the situation surrounding the Korean Peninsula is showing signs of significant change to come. Today, we will carefully analyze the costs and benefits of various unification scenarios at this conference. And I hope that not only can we develop more effective strategies for securing needed funding, but also put to rest unjustified doubts and fears about unification. In this regard, discussions on Germany's actual unification experience would be especially helpful for drawing concrete lessons for Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, as the trustee of the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, Korea Action Bank has channeled 5.7 trillion won over the last 21 years to execute numerous projects such as the provision of fertilizer and food to North Korea and the reunion of separated families and the provision of loans to companies in the Kaesong Industrial District. Moreover, we have been holding international seminars to analyze major issues related to North Korean economy and inter-Korean economic cooperation. Recently, we have also established an advisory council comprising scholars and experts of inter-Korean relations. We will continue to do our part in steering inter-Korean relations toward the future of harmonious coexistence and ultimately unification. To that end, we will share and develop our accumulated expertise and cooperate closely with the Ministry of Unification. The unification of South and North Korea would not only impact Koreans, but also have major ripple effects throughout the world. We cannot forecast when or how unification will occur. But the more seriously the international community prepares for unification, the sooner we will be able to usher in an era of peaceful unification of Korea's and world peace. The Korean government, in preparation for the unification to come, is revising the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund Act and conducting a fundraising campaign to cover the cost of unification. Accordingly, Korea Action Bank will be ready to fulfill the policy goal of the government to the utmost effect. I hope that today's conference will stimulate greater discussions and support for unification within the international community. I am also confident that Korea Action Bank will benefit greatly from the valuable insights shared at this conference. I look forward to your active participation today and to your continued interest in the efforts of the Korea Action Bank in promoting inter-Korean cooperation. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great privilege for me to make an opening remark on behalf of the Institute for Global Economics and other co-organizers, Korea Action Bank and Konrad Adenauer Foundation and KDI and Peterson Institute in Washington, D.C. I would like to extend my warm personal welcome to all of you, especially those coming from abroad to join us this morning. I am especially thankful to Minister of Unification, Dr. Yu, taking time out of his busy schedule to give a keynote address here this morning. I must also thank Mr. Carstens, who was Deputy Finance Minister of West Germany, and also he was one of the, I know, the leading West German politicians at the time, to give another keynote address at this conference. Please forgive me not to recognize all the distinguished participants individually, since there are so many of you present here, except I want to mention that our former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Han Seung-ju, who is supposed to moderate the first session, and also back there in the sitting, Dr. Hyun In-taek, who was our former Minister of Unification. Forgive me not to recognize all the excellencies and ambassadors. Considering rapid economic and political changes taking place throughout the world, the two Koreas' unification doesn't seem to be just an aspiration, but seems more likely to be a reality. The opportunity for the unification may come rather sooner rather than later. It is therefore critically important for Korea to prepare for its unification under perhaps different scenarios. That is, from a hard landing to a soft landing scenario. However, this conference is not to focus on the different scenarios, but on costs and benefits of unification and necessary international cooperation. Given the two Koreas' per capita income, living standard, the development gap, and population sizes, one can easily imagine the economic cost of the Korean unification would be much higher than that of Germany, which was huge enough. Obviously, the brunt of the economic and financial cost should be borne by South Korea. For this reason alone, Korea should keep its fiscal soundness, financial stability, and a strong foreign reserve position. At the same time, the South has to work closely with its neighboring countries and relevant multilateral organizations for their full participation and cooperation in the process of preparing its unification. In fact, impacts of the Korean unification will certainly have significant regional and global dimensions. The primary objective of today's conference is to focus on these two aspects of the Korean unification, namely cost and benefits of the unification and the role of the international community. We are very fortunate to assemble so many scholars and policymakers from within Korea and abroad for this conference. I am particularly pleased to have experts and former policymakers from Germany who can share their insights from the German unification experience with us. Once again, I very much appreciate the participation of the experts on this very valuable, timely occasion. I am looking forward to sharing their views and insights for the Korean unification. It is my sincere hope that this conference will provide a new impetus for serious discussions on the Korean unification and contribute towards raising public awareness. On this very brief note, I would like to end my opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's rainy outside. This is a sign for real beginning of autumn days in Korea, which is known as National Treasure Number 1. I hope we will not sit here too long and go outside and enjoy the Korean autumn landscape, which will help you to think over the Korean reunification problem again. I'm supposed to speak in Korean, sorry, but as a unification minister, it's my duty to speak in Korean. 여러분 안녕하십니까? 대한민국 통일부 장관입니다. 먼저 영광스러운 자리에 초청해 주신 데 대해서 감사드립니다. 세계경제연구원 401 이사장님 비롯해서 이번 국제 컨퍼런스를 준비해 주신 한국수출입은행, 한국개발연구원, 피터슨 국제경제연구소, 콘라드 아데나워 재단 관계자 여러분께 깊은 감사를 드립니다. 국제정책연구원 한승주 이사장님, 만프레드 칼스턴스 전 차관님을 비롯해서 한자리에 모시기 쉽지 않은 이 분야의 많은 전문가 분들께서 이 자리에 나와 주셨습니다. 현장에서 정책을 다루어 분들도 많이 함께 해 주셨습니다. 감사하고 또 반갑습니다. 내외 귀빈 여러분, 난 오늘 대한민국 정부와 국민이 통일 준비를 시작했다는 사실을 알리기 위해서 이 자리에 나왔습니다. 세계는 문명사적 변화에 휩싸여 있습니다. 저는 이러한 변화를 판이 흔들린다고 표현하고 있습니다. 가장 안정된 자본주의 질서 아래서 번영을 구가해온 미국과 유럽에서 경제위기가 시작되었고, 서구 중심의 일반적인 세계사의 흐름과는 별도로 독자적인 길을 걷던 중동과 아프리카에서 민주주의를 향한 흐름이 시작됐습니다. 세계적 스케일의 변화의 흐름이 새로운 질서를 향해서 요동치고 있습니다. 이 물결은 동아시아에도 높은 파고로 밀려오고 있습니다. 당연히 한반도도 그 흐름에서 예외일 수는 없습니다. 남북관계 역시 새로운 틀을 요구받고 있습니다. 대한민국은 이러한 세계사적 변화에 능동적으로 대응하고자 합니다. 글로벌 코리아를 향한 전진을 계속하면서 통일 준비에 나선 것이 바로 그것입니다. 통일 준비를 위해 국민의 통일 의지를 고양시키고 통일에 대비한 재원을 마련하고자 합니다. 대한민국의 통일 의지를 세계에 널리 알리고 국제사회에 우호적인 통일 여건을 만들어갈 것입니다. 새로운 삶과 꿈을 찾아온 북한 이탈 주민들을 감싸 안고 통일 미래를 위한 법과 제도를 준비해 나가고자 합니다. 원조를 받던 나라에서 원조를 주는 나라로 발전한 대한민국의 역량을 이제는 통일을 이루는 데 모으고자 합니다. 당장의 편안함에 안주하지 않고 고통받는 북한 동포들을 위해 우리가 해야 하고 할 수 있는 일을 하고자 합니다. 북핵 문제를 비롯한 남북관계의 모든 모순도 통일을 통해서 근본적으로 해결될 수 있을 것입니다. 내외 귀빈 여러분, 통일 준비의 여러 과제 중에 내가 이 자리에서 특히 강조하고자 하는 것은 통일 외교입니다. 독일의 분단과 통일이 유럽의 평화와 번영에 직결되었듯이 한반도의 분단과 통일은 동아시아의 평화와 번영에 직접적으로 연관된 문제입니다. 독일이 분할되면서 냉전의 틀이 유럽에 형성되었습니다. 그리고 독일이 통일되면서 동서 진영 간의 화해가 이루어졌고 유럽은 통합을 향해서 박차를 가해갈 수 있었습니다. 이곳 동아시아도 마찬가지입니다. 한반도가 분단되면서 동아시아는 냉전의 갈등과 대립을 겪기 시작했습니다. 그리고 그 갈등과 대립은 지금도 뿌리 깊은 흔적을 남기고 있습니다. 한반도가 통일됨으로써 비로소 동아시아가 갈등과 대립을 극복하고 평화와 번영으로 가는 길이 열리게 될 것입니다. 그것이 시대의 정신이자 역사의 순리입니다. 한반도의 분단은 궁극적으로 대한민국과 대한민국 국민들에게 책임이 있습니다. 그때 우리에게는 우리의 운명을 스스로 결정할 힘이 약했습니다. 그러나 한반도의 분단에는 주변국들도 직간접으로 연관되어 있었음을 부정할 수 없습니다. 역사적으로 복잡하게 엉킨 실타래는 통일을 통해서만 풀릴 수 있습니다. 한반도가 통일되었을 때 비로소 역사의 회복과 지정학적 화해가 가능해질 것입니다. 그때 비로소 동아시아는 진정으로 과거를 극복하고 미래를 향해 나아갈 수 있을 것입니다. 우리 문화에 남은 아픈 상흔과 왜곡 역시 한민족이 그 삶의 원형을 되찾고 국토의 일체성을 회복할 때 비로소 아름다움으로 성화될 수 있을 것입니다. 통일은 한반도 문제의 당사자인 한국인들에 의해 주도되어 나가야 합니다. 그러나 주변국들이 함께 협조할 때 더 빠르고 더 안정적이고 더 효율적으로 이루어질 것입니다. 그것은 분단의 관여자로서도 역사에 대해 책임을 다하는 숭고한 과업이 될 것입니다. 주변국들은 한반도 통일에 대한 낡은 사고의 틀과 결별해야 합니다. 분단 상황을 안정적으로 관리하여 현상을 유지하는 것이 자국의 이익에 부합할 것이라는 검증되지 않은 소극적 관념에서 탈피해야 합니다. 한반도의 통일을 위한 우호적인 노력이 동아시아의 진정한 발전과 함께 자국에게도 이익을 가져온다는 적극적 인식이 필요합니다. 주변국들뿐만 아니라 국제사회의 책임 있는 성원들이 시대적 소명을 받아들여 새로운 통일 한국을 위해 협력해 줄 것을 기대합니다. 유럽의 사회주의 체제 이행과 경제위기 극복 경험, 우리보다 먼저 통일을 이루어낸 독일의 경험, 모범적인 체제 개혁의 사례를 보여주고 있는 중국의 지혜와 세계의 지도적 국가로서 미국이 축적한 노하우가 더해질 때 우리는 좀 더 바람직한 통일 미래를 만들어갈 수 있을 것입니다. 국제사회가 동참하여 한반도의 통일을 실현할 때 세계는 분쟁의 해결과 위기 극복을 위한 적실성 있는 대안을 갖게 될 수 있을 것입니다. 통일에 소요되는 재원을 마련하고 북한 경제를 재건하는 일 역시 국제사회의 협조 없이는 감당하기 쉽지 않은 일일 것입니다. 대한민국 정부와 국민이 통일 준비를 시작했다는 사실이 국제사회의 한반도 문제에 대한 적극적인 인식을 고취시킬 수 있기를 기대합니다. 내외 귀빈 여러분, 대한민국은 통일을 통해 지역의 평화와 안정에 기여하는 평화로운 나라를 만들어갈 것입니다. 단절된 남북한을 하나로 연결하고 태평양과 유라시아를 통하게 할 것입니다. 동아시아 경제와 문화에 새로운 장을 열어가고 세계 문명의 발전에 적극적으로 기여하는 나라가 될 것입니다. 새로운 문명의 용융을 위해 한국적 가치를 발신하고 인류 보편의 가치 구현에 앞장설 것입니다. 일부에서는 통일 한국의 그림에 불안감을 드러내기도 합니다. 나는 이에 대해 대한민국의 역사를 들여다볼 것을 권합니다. 다른 나라를 침략하거나 괴롭히지 않고 오직 국민의 땀 흘린 노력으로 발전의 역사를 만들어냈습니다. 어떤 화려한 수사보다도 우리가 지나온 역사 그 자체가 통일 한국의 미래를 말해주고 있는 것입니다. 이러한 홍익 인간의 정신적 자산이 오늘의 우리를 있게 한 바탕이자 우리의 미래를 이끌어갈 기반이 되고 있습니다. 정부에서는 통일 준비에 대해 한편에서는 통일 준비에 대해 유보적인 태도를 나타내는 이들도 있습니다. 통일 준비보다 교류 협력을 먼저 활발하게 추진해야 하지 않는지, 당장 쓰지도 않을 돈을 모을 필요가 있는지 의문을 제기하기도 합니다. 풍요와 안정 속에서 자라온 젊은 층을 중심으로 현실에 익숙해지면서 통일에 대해 추상적이거나 막연한 생각을 갖는 이들도 늘어나고 있습니다. 이러한 막연한 인식에서 벗어나야 합니다. 대북 교류 협력은 당연히 추진해 가야 합니다. 지금도 우리는 문을 열어놓고 있습니다. 그와 함께 통일이 갖는 민족사적 의미와 세계사적 의의를 명확히 인식해야 합니다. 분단의 비용과 통일의 편익에 대해 합리적으로 사고해야 합니다. 성공적인 통일 준비를 이루어가는 데 있어 통일 재원 마련은 관건적 과제가 될 것입니다. 현실적으로 통일에는 적지 않은 비용이 소요될 것으로 보입니다. 정부는 이러한 사실을 국민에게 솔직히 알리고 자발적으로 동참해 줄 것을 호소하고 있습니다. 통일 비용이 많다고 해도 분단 비용에 비할 바 되지 못하고 통일 비용은 한 번 부담하면 되지만 통일 편익은 영원히 누적되어 간다는 것을 알리고 있습니다. 통일 준비가 통일을 앞당기고 원만하게 이루어내는데 도움을 준다는 사실도 공감대를 얻어가고 있습니다. 지금 남북 간에는 경색 국면이 지속되고 있습니다. 현재 남북한의 경색 상황을 우려스럽게 바라보는 많은 시각들이 있습니다. 통일부 장관으로서 내가 보다 중요하게 생각하는 것은 이를 어떻게 해석할 것인가를 넘어 이 상황을 어떤 방향으로 이끌어갈 것인지입니다. 현재의 경색 국면은 정상적인 남북관계를 정립하기 위해 겪고 있는 진통입니다. 통일로 나아가는 길에서 불가피하게 겪어야 하는 진통인 것입니다. 참아야 할 때는 참으면서 미래를 준비해 가야 합니다. 이 고통스러운 시간이 지나고 나면 정상적인 남북관계와 통일의 길이 열릴 것을 믿습니다. 정부는 상생공영의 새로운 남북관계를 위한 노력에 최선을 다해왔습니다. 원칙의 기반 위에서 유연한 대북정책을 추진해 왔습니다. 북한이 핵무기 개발을 포기해야 한다는 것은 확고한 원칙입니다. 도발에 대해서는 단호히 대응하고 책임 있는 조치를 촉구해 가고 있습니다. 이는 북한을 징벌하고 맞대응하는 차원이 아니라 남북관계를 안정적으로 관리하고 북한이 미래를 향해 변화할 수 있도록 하기 위한 노력입니다. 또한 정부는 남북관계 상황과 관계없이 사회 문화적 교류와 인도적 지원은 계속하면서 모든 현안 문제를 대화를 통해 풀려는 노력을 지속하고 있습니다. 안타깝게도 북한은 우리의 노력에 호응하지 않고 변화의 흐름에서 스스로를 고립시키고 있습니다. 북한은 변화를 결단하고 추동해 나갈 용기를 내지 못하고 있습니다. 변화를 추진해 나갈 여건이 마련되어 있지 않은 것 같습니다. 그것이 우리 정부가 한편으로 기회의 창을 닫지 않고 다른 한편으로 통일 준비에 나서는 이유입니다. 내외 귀빈 여러분, 통일을 준비해 나가는 과정에는 기복이 있을 것입니다. 그리고 물론 실망스러운 일도 있을 것입니다. 아무리 그렇다 하더라도 대한민국 정부와 국민은 신념을 가지고 꿋꿋이 우리가 가야 할 길을 가고자 합니다. 우리는 통일 준비의 상징으로 통일 항아리를 만들었습니다. 통일 재원을 마련하기 위해서입니다. 여기에는 성금과 함께 한국인의 통일 의지를 결집하여 채워가고 있습니다. 국민의 의지로 채워진 통일 항아리는 핵무기보다도 강할 것입니다. 북한 핵은 북한 주민의 고난을 해결하지 못하지만 우리가 만든 통일 항아리는 그들을 구할 수 있을 것입니다. 북한 핵은 통일을 가져오지 못하지만 통일 항아리는 그 축복을 가져올 것입니다. 들판에 나가는 사람은 세 끼니의 식사만으로 돌아와도 아직 배가 부르지만 백리길을 가는 사람은 하룻밤 걸러 곡식을 찧어야 하고 천리길을 가는 사람은 석 달 동안 식량을 모아야 한다고 했습니다. 석 달이 아니라 3년이라도 그리고 몇 번의 3년이라도 우리는 꾸준히 통일을 준비해 나갈 것입니다. 그것은 천년을 내다보는 민족의 미래 준비이기 때문입니다. 아무쪼록 오늘 회의가 한반도 통일에 대한 국제사회의 지지를 확인하고 그에 대한 의지를 결집하는 성공적인 자리가 되기를 기원합니다. 경청해 주셔서 감사합니다. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman Il Sai-Kong, Herr Minister, verehrte Gäste und Teilnehmer an dieser wichtigen internationalen Konferenz. Ich freue mich sehr, auch daran teilnehmen zu dürfen und möchte Sie auch meinerseits ganz herzlich grüßen. Ich freue mich auch darüber, dass der deutsche Botschafter hier teilnehmen will. Wir haben gestern schon mit einem Arbeitsessen, was sehr in Ordnung war, die Veranstaltung begonnen. Und ich möchte von dem berichten, was ich für wichtig halte, mit Blick auf eine mögliche koreanische Vereinigung aus der Sicht der Dinge, die wir erlebt haben mit der Vereinigung in Deutschland. Ich war ja ziemlich nahe an den Entscheidungen dran und kann mir vorstellen, dass das eine oder andere doch wichtig werden könnte, auch für Korea. Bevor ich das tue, möchte ich mich bedanken bei den Veranstaltern, bei den Gastgebern der Konferenz. Und es ist sehr schön, dass auch die Konrad-Adenauer-Stiftung mit zu diesem Kreis gehört, mit dem Leiter der Stiftung Dr. Eschborn. Und es ist mir eine Freude gewesen, zusagen zu können, um anzureisen aus Deutschland für den heutigen und gestrigen Tag. Wir haben viele sachkundige Redner auf dem Programm und ich bin davon überzeugt, dass es eine sehr interessante Konferenz werden wird. Das bringt mich dann zu der sicheren Annahme, dass diese Konferenz nicht das Schicksal erleidet, was gelegentlich zur Sprache kommt von einer Konferenz, die stattgefunden haben soll, mit vielen Rednern, aber wenig interessanten Themen. Und als der dritte und vierte Redner an der Reihe gewesen war, hatten immer mehr Gäste den Raum, den Saal verlassen. Und beim 7. und 8. und 9. wurde es noch schlimmer. Es war noch kaum jemand im Saal. Und als dann der 10. Redner ans Pult trat, war noch ein Mann im Saal in der ersten Reihe. Und als er sich bei dem bedanken wollte, rief der von unten nach oben: Sie brauchen sich gar nicht zu bedanken, ich bin nämlich der nächste Redner. Meine Damen und Herren, das werden wir nicht erleben. Es wird interessant und spannend sein, bei einem ja auch überaus wichtigen Thema. Wir haben in Deutschland in der Tat mit dem Problem zu tun gehabt, dass wir uns nicht vorbereiten konnten. Ich war noch einige Jahre, bevor es zur Wiedervereinigung gekommen ist, hier in Südkorea, in Seoul, auch an der Grenze in Panmunjom, und habe dann verglichen, wie schrecklich diese Grenzen sind hier in Korea, wie auch damals in Deutschland. Auch dort hat man ja auf Menschen, die das Land verlassen wollten, geschossen. Und nicht nur einmal, sondern oft. Und habe mir meine Gedanken gemacht, wie lange diese schreckliche Zeit wohl noch anhalten könnte. Und einige Jahre danach haben wir dann in Deutschland das Glück gehabt, uns wieder vereinigen zu können. Und ich wünsche sehr von ganzem Herzen, dass das auch auf der koreanischen Halbinsel bald möglich geschehe. In Deutschland hatten wir, wie gesagt, keine Vorbereitungszeit. Und so manches, was man heute vielleicht als einen Fehler bezeichnen möchte, was vielleicht auch dann ein Fehler gewesen ist, muss ja aus der Schau der Jahre 1989, 1990, 91 und folgende betrachtet werden. Was war vorhersehbar, was war nicht vorhersehbar? Und von daher freue ich mich darüber, dass man in Seoul hier doch sehr dabei ist, zu überlegen, was man vorbereiten kann, was man machen kann, wobei aber auch jedem von uns klar sein muss, dass es keine Möglichkeit gibt, durch noch so gute Vorbereitungen den Zeitpunkt zu bestimmen, wann die Vereinigung kommt. Das ist politisch eine nicht angenehme Situation. Hat mich sehr gefreut, wie der Vereinigungsminister dazu Stellung genommen hat. Gestern Abend schon der ehemalige Premierminister und der aktuelle Minister für Strategie und für Finanzen. In Deutschland war die Bevölkerung eingestellt, immer schon zu einem großen Teil auf die Bereitschaft, sich wieder vereinigen zu wollen. Das halte ich zunächst mal für ganz wichtig in Seoul, hier im Süden, dass man dafür wirbt, im Volk, auch bei der jungen Generation, dass dann, wenn der Hauch der Geschichte in einer wichtigen Frage das Land berührt und die Chance besteht, sich wieder zu vereinigen, dass man da nicht Nein sagen kann. Man weiß überhaupt nicht, ob es eine neue Chance gibt. Man weiß auch gar nicht, unter welchen Bedingungen solche Chancen kommen. Wir haben in Deutschland erlebt, dass wir bang auf Moskau geschaut haben. Und viele waren der Meinung, dass es nicht gestattet werden würde, zur Wiedervereinigung zu kommen. Aber Moskau hat sich nicht geweigert. Und dann haben wir die Chance wahrgenommen. In Deutschland haben wir dann auch Brainstorming gemacht auf die Schnelle, haben überlegt, was geschehen sollte, was geschehen muss. Es sind auch von Experten Vorschläge gemacht worden, dass man das schrittweise gehen sollte, dass man längere Passagen einbauen sollte. Aber dazu gab es gar keine Möglichkeit. Als die Mauer fiel in Berlin, da war eine solche Jubelstimmung im Land und die gesamte westdeutsche Weltbevölkerung wurde einbezogen, dass es dann geradewegs auf die Wiedervereinigung zuging. Und zwar so schnell wie möglich. Und obwohl es teuer geworden ist, es ist teurer geworden, als die meisten angenommen haben, kann ich hier aber sagen, dass, wenn man in Deutschland heute die Frage stellt, die allermeisten, wahrscheinlich 90–95%, sich darüber freuen, dass wir die deutsche Vereinigung geschafft haben, auch zu den Bedingungen, die dabei einzuhalten waren. Von daher rege ich auch an, hier in Seoul Mut zu haben, nicht kleinmütig zu sein. Südkorea ist ein wundervoll leistungsfähiges Land. Und ein solch leistungsfähiges Land hat die Kapazitäten, bei guter Vorbereitung auch die Bevölkerung Nordkoreas in einem gewissen Zeitraum an den Lebensstandard im Süden heranzuführen. Und dabei muss dann einiges anders laufen als in Deutschland. Wie gesagt, in Deutschland haben wir in dieser Jubelstimmung gemeint, es ganz schnell machen zu können mit der Angleichung des Lebensstandards, was dann aber dazu geführt hat, dass, weil die Produktivität, weil die wirtschaftliche Kraft in der ehemaligen Deutschen Demokratischen Republik eben noch nicht den Standard im Westen erreicht hatte, dass die Arbeitskräfte nicht lohnend, dass die Arbeitsplätze nicht lohnend waren, dass sie nicht rentabel waren, dass kaum Fabriken neu angesiedelt werden konnten. Und deswegen sage ich als allererstes für eine Perspektive der Vereinigung in Korea, dass man, sobald die Chance gegeben ist und die Nordkoreaner das auch wollen, wovon ich ausgehe, sie werden mit Freuden kommen, wenn die Bevölkerung die Fähigkeit, die Möglichkeit dazu hat, dass man dann zwar den Weg, den Deutschland gegangen ist, nicht gehen muss. Man sollte alle anderen Möglichkeiten auch durchdiskutieren, und zwar ausgiebig. Vietnam hat auch gar nicht so schlechte Erfahrungen gemacht, kann sich aber ja in keiner Weise mit Südkorea vergleichen von der wirtschaftlichen Leistungsfähigkeit. Und dass man dann aber schon vorher diskutiert, über die Parteigrenzen hinweg, mit den Gewerkschaften, mit den wichtigen gesellschaftlichen Kräften hier im Süden Koreas, wie man es schaffen kann, dass die nordkoreanische Bevölkerung, wenn sie Arbeitsplätze bekommt, wenn sie integriert werden in den Arbeitsprozess, dann auch tatsächlich nur Löhne bekommen kann, die der Produktivität der Wirtschaft beim Aufbau im Norden entsprechen. Und obwohl es sich vielleicht unsozial anhört, hielt ich es für besser, dass diese Löhne, die dann zu zahlen werden, noch etwas unter der Produktivität wären. Sie können dann schnell angepasst werden. So wie die Produktivität steigt, kann das schnell angepasst werden. Aber man kann nicht beim Start einer Vereinigung zu hoch ansetzen. Das ist verhängnisvoll. Wenn man das macht, dann wird es teuer. Und dieses Sagen wird es teuer, das haben wir in Deutschland erlebt. Ich habe persönlich sicher angenommen, dass auch große ausländische Firmen sehr schnell nach Ostdeutschland reingehen würden, um dort zu investieren. Da sind ganz wenige gekommen, weil nach deren Meinung die Löhne in Ostdeutschland beim Start zu hoch waren. Wir hatten sogar Probleme, die Firmen aus der Bundesrepublik Deutschland zu gewinnen, nach Ostdeutschland in die neuen Bundesländer zu gehen. Wir mussten teilweise bis zu 50% Subventionen zahlen, anbieten, um überhaupt westdeutsche Firmen dafür zu gewinnen, in den Osten zu gehen. Weil einfach die Kosten zu hoch waren mit Blick auf die Produktivität. Das hat mit den Menschen nichts zu tun. In Nordkorea können die Leute nach einer Vereinigung noch so fleißig sein, noch so tüchtig sein. Aufgrund des gesamten Umfeldes, was da total rückständig ist, kann die Produktivität nicht annähernd so hoch sein, wie das in Südkorea der Fall ist. Und so war das auch eine lange Zeit in Deutschland. Wenn man aber bei den Löhnen und gleichbedeutend dann auch bei den Renten, die sich daraus ergeben, ein gesundes Maß entwickelt, bei dem die nordkoreanische Bevölkerung sicherlich sofort deutlich besser dasteht, als der Lebensstandard jetzt hoch ist in Nordkorea, dann werden viele dieses Gebiet von Nordkorea für wirtschaftlich interessant halten. Was fällt da eine Arbeit an? Das ganze Land muss modernisiert werden. Das ist ja kaum vorstellbar, was da geschehen muss. Das ist so richtig der Nährboden für eine boomartige Entwicklung in ganz Korea. Aber das Ganze muss auch einen Anreiz haben, das auch von außerhalb so zu sehen und auch von Südkorea aus so zu sehen. Die Arbeit, die da anfällt, die vielen Chancen, sie werden nur sehr zurückhaltend genutzt, wenn die Kosten dort beim Staat zu hoch sind. Das ist das Allerwichtigste, was ich aus ökonomischer Sicht hier zunächst sagen möchte als Ratschlag dafür, wenn man sich entscheiden sollte, auf ähnliche Weise die Wege zu gehen, wie wir das in Deutschland gemacht haben. Wenn man das hinbekommt und in der Gesellschaft vorher abstimmt und sich darüber im Klaren ist, auch wenn Wahlen anstehen, wenn zum Beispiel der erste Präsident oder die erste Präsidentin für ein vereinigtes Korea zu wählen wären und man dann nicht weiß, wer es wohl wird, auch dann müssen diese Überlegungen und die Absprachen Bestand haben, dass man weiß, so müssen wir vorgehen. Denn dann wird es nicht so teuer. Dann kann ich mir vorstellen, wird man in Korea vielleicht leichte Steuererhöhungen notwendig haben, vielleicht gar nicht. Das Sozialversicherungssystem, das wird eine Zeit lang sehr angespannt sein, bis die Arbeitskräfte Nordkoreas in einen Arbeitsprozess gekommen sind. Aber das geht relativ schnell bei entsprechend niedrigeren Löhnen. Und von daher wird dann schnell sich die Steuer ergeben, die Sozialversicherungskosten und die Gesundheitskosten gedeckt werden können durch die Einnahmen, die sich in diesem Bereich ergeben. Das geht schon innerhalb kurzer Zeit, das dauert vielleicht ein halbes Jahr, ein Jahr, 2 Jahre, dann pendelt sich das sehr schnell ein, weil ja alle Voraussetzungen dafür da sind, dass man sehr schnell in eine boomartige Entwicklung kommt, wenn die Kostenfrage, ich sage es noch einmal, geklärt ist. Von daher würde ich das so auch der jungen Generation darlegen, die große Sorge hat, dass das zu teuer werden wird. Ich habe für diese Gedankengänge kein Verständnis. Ein 17-Jähriger in Seoul sollte sich fragen, was mit ihm geschehen wäre, wenn er nicht in Seoul, sondern in Pyongyang geboren wäre. Und als Koreaner in einem geteilten Land hat man auch die Verpflichtung, Sorge zu tragen und zu helfen, sobald man kann, wenn die Freiheit es zulässt, auch den Schwestern und Brüdern im Norden zur Seite zu stehen. Und wenn man dann gemeinsam anpackt, wenn man dann die ersten 10 Jahre geschafft hat, dann wird ein vereinigtes Korea das Ergebnis sein in Frieden und Freiheit. Das ist die Perspektive. Wenn man über diese Fragen spricht, darf man natürlich nicht nur die Kostenseite sehen. Das wäre ja viel zu kurz gegriffen. Man muss auch nicht nur die Vorteile einer Vereinigung betrachten, sondern es geht ja auch ganz materiell darum, dass Nordkorea ein Gebiet ist, in dem man sicherlich auch natürliche Ressourcen vermuten kann, auch Bodenschätze. Es ist für die Versorgung ganz Koreas auf Dauer auch von der Agrarseite nicht uninteressant, auch was die Fischereimöglichkeiten, die erweiterten, betrifft. Man muss ja auch sehen, dass man sehr schnell die Militärausgaben drastisch reduzieren könnte. Man muss auch bedenken, dass Nordkorea ja kaum Auslandsschulden hat. Es wäre ja auch jammerschade, wenn man bei einer Vereinigung auch noch hohe Schulden zu übernehmen hätte. Aber das ist ja nicht der Fall. Und im Falle eines Zusammengehens würde ja die Durchschnittsverschuldung Gesamtkoreas nochmal sinken. Eine solche Betrachtung muss auch einmal geschehen und stattfinden und auch angesprochen werden. Von daher meine ich, dass man sich darauf konzentrieren muss, die Dinge gut vorzuplanen, was in der Verkehrsinfrastruktur vonnöten ist, an Straßen, Eisenbahnen, Häfen, Flughäfen. Das ist ja unendlich viel, was da geschafft werden muss. Die Technologie die neueste Technologie muss ins Land gebracht werden. Und alle Dinge, die man hier im Süden Koreas als normal betrachtet, müssen ja irgendwo in 15 Jahren auch im Norden der Halbinsel präsent sein. Damit haben die südkoreanischen Firmen unendlich viel zu tun. Und das wird eine große Aufgabe sein. Und man wird auch interessant sein für das Ausland, für ausländische Investitionen, immer unter der Voraussetzung, dass die Kostenproblematik richtig gelöst werden kann. Und ich kann mir vorstellen, dass das für Gesamtkorea eine Entwicklung gibt, von der man nur träumen kann. Man soll sich aber auch nicht zu viel Illusion machen und die Erwartungen zu hoch schrauben, denn wir sehen ja in der gesamten weltpolitischen Lage, dass vieles auch so aussieht, wie wenn es nicht so positiv weiterginge, wie wir uns das erhoffen. Und ich kann nur hoffen, dass es eben doch eine weiterhin friedliche weltpolitische Entwicklung gibt, auch mit dem Nachbarn hier. Ich meine China, der immer stärker wird, der immer mehr Einfluss gewinnt. Und deswegen sollte man auch nicht zögern, sobald die Chance sich ergibt, sich wieder zu vereinigen. Von daher sind diese Punkte zu bedenken und zu berücksichtigen. Man hat dann noch in dem Zusammenhang auch zu bedenken einen zweiten wichtigen Punkt, den ich noch kurz ansprechen kann. Wir können ja das in der Diskussion heute Nachmittag noch vertiefen. Denn das zweite Problem besteht darin, das war in Deutschland so schwierig, wenn man unterschiedliche Lohnhöhen hat, dann besteht ja die Neigung, dass man aus den Gebieten, wo die niedrigen Löhne sind, versucht, in die anderen Gebiete zu kommen, nämlich von Nord nach Süd. Da würden sich die Firmen hier im Süden sicherlich freuen, wenn sie zunächst mal weiter Arbeitskräfte hätten, aber Nordkorea darf ja nicht entvölkert werden. Das darf ja nicht ein Altenheim werden, sondern das muss ja eine dynamische Region bleiben und werden. Und da kann man in einem freien Land nicht mit Sperren kommen, da kann man nicht Zäune ziehen, sondern da muss man sich etwas einfallen lassen, womit man das steuern kann. Und dann meine ich, in dem Zusammenhang sagen zu sollen, dass der Wohnungsbestand ein wichtiger Punkt ist. In Nordkorea sind sicherlich schlechte Lebensverhältnisse. Und wenn man nun diesen Wohnungsbestand modernisiert, mit den Mitteln, die man da zur Verfügung hat, da gibt es ja so viele moderne Dinge, die man schnell in einem Haus und in einen Wohnungsbereich einbauen kann, modernisieren kann. Um dann aber diese Wohnungen dort sehr preiswert zu vergeben, vielleicht sogar zu privatisieren mit günstigen Finanzierungsmitteln, dann würde man in Nordkorea dauerhaft viel günstiger wohnen können als im Süden. Und das ist oft ein Grund, wenn man dann auch die Erwartung hat, dass die Löhne in den nächsten Jahren auch im Norden ansteigen, nicht so oft den Wohnort zu wechseln in Richtung Süden, sondern da zu bleiben, wo man ist. Was wichtig ist, dass gerade auch die junge Bevölkerung nicht vollständig abzieht. Ein weiteres Mittel ist die Landwirtschaft. Ich halte viel davon, das genossenschaftlich zu organisieren oder zu privatisieren. Überall hat man damit die besten Erfolge. Und wenn das selbstständige Landwirte werden, bearbeiten sie ihre Scholle, ihre Fläche und ziehen auch nicht ab und haben gute Erfolge. Und drittens ist das genauso bei kleinen und mittelständischen Unternehmen. Es gibt viele, die einen kleinen Handel anfangen könnten, die ein handwerkähnliches Unternehmen aufbauen. Da gibt es findige Leute in Korea, auch im Norden. Und auch die sind dann geneigt, dort an Ort und Stelle zu bleiben und nicht abzuziehen. Das heißt, man muss auch solche Dinge noch mehr entwickeln, um es dazu zu bringen, dass auch wirklich Nordkorea dynamisch ist, sich entwickelt und die Bevölkerung dort anpackt und mitwirkt, um es zu einem erfolgreichen Zusammenschluss zu bringen. So, meine Damen und Herren, nachdem ich das gesagt habe, möchte ich damit schließen, dass man bei alledem, was man jetzt bedenkt, immer auch im Hinterkopf haben muss, man weiß nicht den Tag und die Stunde. Das kann auch lange dauern, das kann aber auch schnell kommen. Wenn man das nicht immer wieder sich sagt, dann ist man irgendwann enttäuscht und die Erwartungen sind zu hoch. Wenn es dann schnell kommt, umso besser. Und der ehemalige Premierminister hat gestern in seiner vorzüglichen Rede noch zum Ausdruck gebracht, man braucht auch Glück. Und meine Damen und Herren, ich ergänze das und sage, man weiß gar nicht, was auf die Welt und auch nicht, was speziell auf Korea zukommt. Ich empfehle auch, den allmächtigen Gott zu bitten, dass es bald zu einer Vereinigung kommt in Korea, in Frieden und in Freiheit. Herzlichen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit.
Good morning. We'll get started since we don't have much time for the morning sessions left. There's a French maxim which says, the more things change, the more they stay the same. This is the maxim that comes to mind when we think about North-South Korea relations. We ask questions like, is North Korea changing? In which direction? What are its implications for North Korea itself and for inter-Korea relations? Relations that have seen ups and downs, mostly downs, as this morning's headlines related to the sending of handbills to North Korean people on balloons by some South Korean NGOs. We see the North-South Korean relations, inter-Korean relations, are rather very explosive at any given moment. Today we have very prominent experts as presenters and distinguished panelists. Since we don't have much time, I would suggest that the presenters will stay as close as possible to about 10 minutes of presentation, and the discussants, panelists, will stay to about 5 minutes of presentation. Let me just go over the names of the presenters and panelists. The presenters are Mr. Brad Babson, formerly with the World Bank and now chair of the DPRK Economic Forum at Johns Hopkins University. Professor Yoo Ho-yeol, who specialized in North Korean studies at Korea University. And the panelists are former Minister of Unification, Mr. Professor Hyun In-taek, and finally Professor Moon Jung-in of Political Science and Diplomacy at Yonsei University. So I will ask Mr. Babson.
Mike Funk.
Oh, that's right. Professor Michael Funke. I asked how to pronounce his name. I think I'm doing all right. Professor of Economics at University of Hamburg. So I'll start with Professor Babson, hoping that he'll be brief and to the point.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Han, and I want to express my great appreciation to all of the sponsors, and particularly to the Institute for Global Economics for organizing this programming and inviting me to participate. I think the timing of this conference is really excellent, as we all know, there's a very good prospect for the opportunity to realign the South-North relationship in 2013 after the elections in South Korea, and as the new regime in the North sets their future policy sails after what I think we all believe is a relatively smooth transition experience in 2012 in the North. And I think 2013 presents an opportunity for a real reset, because relations are at such a low level that there's an opportunity to rethink what is the right way to reestablish the relationship for the future, given the lessons of experience, and also looking at a variety of conditions in both countries and regionally and globally that really set the stage for rethinking the future of the relationship. What I want to do this morning is briefly cover a number of topics. Just a couple of reminders of historical factors of what's really at stake here. Talk very briefly about the present situation. Some of the elements of transition in the North that I think are important considerations in rethinking how to reframe inter-Korean relations. A few comments on South Korean elections and some of the domestic challenges here in the South that also I think are important considerations in the short term. Talk a bit about the rise of China and what's been going on in North Korean-Chinese relations and what that means for the inter-Korean relationship. A little bit about the U.S. tilt towards Asia and the upcoming presidential elections in the United States. Draw a couple of lessons from both the era of the Sunshine Policy and of the era of the last 5 years under the LMB administration. And I'd like to end with a few personal suggestions of guiding principles that might be considered as ways to help think about reframing the relationship in light of all of these considerations. I think just on historical factors, I think it's important to remember that in the inter-Korean situation, it's not just a competition between Cold War ideologies and competing economic systems. There are still very deep, unresolved elements of what was a brutal civil war, and I think coming from a civil war country, the consequences of a civil war on societies and on families run very deep and take a long time to work out, and there's a deeper level of competition at stake in the inter-Korean unification process. I think deeply this goes back beyond the Korean War to the era of Japanese occupation that really broke down the traditional social and political order on the Korean Peninsula, and what we've seen really is a competition between two countries trying to rebuild what it means to be Korea in a modern world, and those are very different visions. And I think that certainly the view in South Korea and the United States is that South Korea will win that competition because of the failure of the North to deliver on the promises of becoming a strong and prosperous nation, while North Korea's view is that they've succeeded in defending their system from the might of the South Korea-U.S. alliance through military deterrence, national character, and fortitude, and the support that they've received over the decades from Russia and increasingly China. And it's going to take a lot to overcome these historical factors in shaping a unification process that's going to be successful in bringing the two Koreas together in an embrace of brotherliness rather than the resolution of a competition on one term or the other. The current situation, and I don't think I need to stress this, is it's really at a low point. Since as Ambassador Hahn mentioned, since the low point, the high point really of the 1992 Basic Agreement, when the two Koreas had a shared vision of ways to build their long-term future in very imaginative and cooperative ways, that the historical process in the last 20 years has been a lot of ups and downs, and we're at the downs at the moment. The only major feature of the inter-Korean relationship that seems to have really survived the last 5 years is the Kaesong Industrial Complex, even though even that is encountering some issues. But I think 2012 has been a transition year after the real escalation of tension and conflict militarily between the two countries starting in 2010. We've seen a lot of rhetoric, and we've seen some pretty antagonistic actions. The North Koreans jamming the aircraft, the long-range missile test, South Korea firing warning shots at fishing vessels, the joint military drills, which have been rather aggressive, the recent announcement of the decision for South Korea to build a longer-range missile capability, and of course the new terms of engagement that have been worked out in South Korea. These, in many ways, scare Americans that despite the nuclear issue, which we all care about, we're worried about a more conventional risk of conflict on the Korean Peninsula that could escalate out of control. And that, I think, sets the stage for a feeling that the next era of inter-Korean relations should aim to calm things down and try to put things on a different path. There have been some indicators of inter-Korean willingness to keep some door opens for civic groups and others. But I think that we've, as we mentioned, there are some recent issues in the relationship that I think will have to be taken into account in a new inter-Korean relationship. One of them is this refusal of the North to take humanitarian aid on South Korean terms. And after the loss of fertilizer and rice aid that took place during the last recent years, I think the North Koreans are going to want to have more of a say in the way in which the humanitarian aid relationship is constructed in the future. And I think you've got to be ready for that. The other thing is South Korea has raised the debt repayment issue, that the initial rice transfers were done in the form of a loan, and last, I think, June, the bill came due. And I think that whether that was done for face-saving purposes at the time, the reality is the two Koreas have to figure out a way to deal with this fact that their humanitarian aid was in fact given in the form of a loan, and no one really expects the North to pay it back, so what are you going to do about that? That's just a factor that will have to be taken into account. A few things about the recent transition in the North that I think are important. One is, from my perspective, I think the hereditary transitions in the North have kind of coming to an end. It's hard to believe that Kim Jong-un is going to remain in power by himself for the next 50 years without a more collective approach to leadership in the North. He could get run over by a truck tomorrow, and I don't think North Korea has a plan B for leadership succession. Except that the diversification of power within the upper circles, within the family, and within the leading institutions, I think is a trend which is likely to continue. I think that there is an opening now, and we're seeing some of this in the internal talks taking place within North Korea, for a more diversified and decentralized system of authority, that if it takes root, and if they're able to build up the role of the cabinet to take more responsibility for the economy, and if the party is playing a less dominant role in day-to-day affairs of running the country, if the military first policy is being rolled back, I think there's an opportunity for North Korea to evolve in a more decentralized ways of decision-making and wealth generation that would be more compatible with the democratic and market economy of the South. And that's a direction of change in North Korea that's worth trying to reinforce. And I think, with the speech that Kim Jong-un gave at his opening last April, where he mentioned that the party would no longer want the North Korean people to have to tighten their belts again. There's a commitment, I think, being made very publicly to addressing the deeper and more populist issues in the economy. And it, to some extent, makes delivering on economic reform almost a legitimacy issue for this new regime in the North. And that changes the context for engaging the North. And I think it's a reason why they may be more motivated to engage in economic cooperation in ways that will help them succeed in building a more successful economy than they've been able to do. And I think it's very important on the South Korean side, if that opening really becomes possible, to really focus on shaping an economic cooperation relationship that will help them in getting the market economy to work, adopting normal business practices, and having incentives to reduce tensions. In terms of South Korea's election, I think we've all know that there's an expectation that whoever wins here is likely to open up a period of rethinking of policy toward the North, with an expectation there'll be somewhat more pro-engagement policy emerging. Not clear what shape that will take, but the direction, I think, is one that provides an opening on the South Korean side. I think just, looking at things from the South Korean perspective, as you all know, the general economic growth outlook is not great, with the weak international situation in markets, particularly in Europe, in the US, and I would say even China, facing some potential economic issues. The mounting tensions in labor relations, and I think the interesting thing for the inter-Korean relationship looking forward is the fact that next year the South Korean labor force is going to begin to shrink. And as the labor force shrinks here, one of the issues is how you deal with contract labor coming in from other countries, or how do you look at the prospect of expanding economic relations that engage North Korean labor to help deal with the labor shortfall issues that South Korean companies are going to be facing. And I'm sure that will factor at some level into the discussions about the future of Kaesong and other kind of South Korean economic commercial relations with the North. The other thing I would just mention is that that there will be both macroeconomic and fiscal challenges that the South Korean government will be facing, and the debt issue is something that's on the table at the moment, that's going to cause whatever government coming into place here to be cautious about budgetary impacts of future economic policies with North Korea, certainly in the short run. The rise of China. I would just like to say, if you stand back a little bit, both Koreas are vulnerable if China has some kind of an economic crisis. It's going to affect both Koreas, and I would say, given the extent to which North Korea has put most of its eggs in the China economic relationship basket, that they're extremely vulnerable to a financial or economic crisis in China. And I think it's one reason why both Koreas could find some common cause in trying to hedge against the risks of downturns of the Chinese economy that would allow them to rebuild a stronger economic relationship in both countries' interests. The other question is, as we know in the papers every day, are various stories about Chinese hegemony and behavior in maritime disputes in both the Northeast as well as Southeast Asia. And I think these sorts of evidences of Chinese nationalism and hegemonic behavior sort of, they trigger this old sort of shrimp among the whales feeling of vulnerability that's deeply ingrained in both Koreas, and also I think stands as another reason why the two Koreas might want to spend more time thinking about their common interests and hedging against their longer term risks of being overly dependent in the China sphere as it grows in power. It's clear to me that China won't object to improved inter-Korean relations because they have an interest in stability on the Korean Peninsula and maintaining good relations with both Koreas, regardless of whatever leadership change takes place in Beijing. The other thing I just want to say about China is my belief that China is very happy with the way things are going in North Korea. They're happy with the fact that they're moving towards a more collective Communist Party leadership that is more stable for being able to manage issues than relying on a personality culture. I think they're happy with the fact that the political military-first politics may be coming to an end with the party being placed in a more powerful relationship to the military. And I think they're happy with the cabinet being given more authority to manage the affairs and maybe become more rational in developing the market economy. All of those things, I think, fit China's idea of where they see North Korea heading, and that's something that I think South Korea needs to take into account as you think about reframing inter-Korean relations, that the Chinese relationship has become very much deeper on multiple fronts, and that's a factor that is going to be in the background no matter what the two Koreas process will be. I just want to say a couple things about lessons from the Sunshine Policy, and I can't wait to hear Chung-In's response to this. I think the hallmark success of the Sunshine Policy was the fact that you were able to achieve simultaneous and multidimensional engagement with North Korea. You could be relating to them on Kaesong, on Mount Kumgang, on processing on commission trade, on family reunions, on military-to-military consultations, on cultural collaboration, on sporting collaboration. I think that multidimensional, simultaneous aspect of the Sunshine Policy was a very positive thing, and you ought to try to get it back. I think it's really important for long-term unification process. I think that reducing tensions can provide for real progress on joint projects and those areas where you can define mutual interests. I think that the two big problems that I see with the Sunshine Policy have to do with one, the cash for concessions policy of providing money either directly or under the table to get North Korea to do things that South Korea wanted them to do. All that did is reinforce a corruption mentality and a sense of the leadership in the North that they could just grab foreign exchange and make these kind of deals. And I don't think that's the kind of relationship that will lead to unification. I think it has to be, personally, a more business-like relationship that's based on genuine understanding of mutual benefits and mutual interests rather than bribing them to do the things you want to do. The other thing is an awful lot of the economic relationship between the two Koreas under the Sunshine Policy was state to state. The fertilizer, the rice aid, a lot of the projects ended with, even the Kaesong project, ended up essentially providing support to propping up the existing system in Pyongyang, but both by providing cash, foreign exchange to the leadership to help them maintain the patronage system of the North, and by providing commodities state to state. It basically propped up the public distribution system, rather than allowing the markets to satisfy the distribution of rice to the population, and created a way for them to hold on to some of the tools for control of that society that I think, as a matter of policy, we would like them to walk away from. We want to see the markets work. We don't really want to prop up the public distribution system for a large majority of the Korean people, and we want to reinforce what China's been doing in their own economic relationship, is stimulating the markets and the role of top-up marketization. And I don't think there was very much in the Sunshine Policy that supported that process. So I would say, in the future, lessons. One is go for a more multidimensional relationship, and trade and investment should be much more important than aid in the future relationship. Getting enterprises interacting directly with each other, civic groups interacting directly with each other will be more beneficial to building the kind of economic relationship that will be more meaningful under the unification process than relying on state-to-state aid. One more analytic slide. Just a couple of lessons from the recent era of what I call the era of conditionality and reciprocity. I think the positive aspect of that was encouraging the North to be more rational and businesslike, to getting away from from cash for concessions type of relation. The negative, I think there was a lot of wolf in sheep's clothing. There was an offer of large-scale economic assistance, but the feeling was that the real intent was to squeeze the North into submission, and the rollback of virtually all economic cooperation between the two Koreas, except for Kaesong, I think sent a big signal to the North about what they perceived the real intention of this policy was. And I think one of the legacies of this era is that it really forced North Korea to look to China much more, not only for economic but political support. And that may be the hallmark accomplishment of this last 5 years, but I think it makes the task of unification a lot more difficult because of the investment that is now deepened in the Chinese relationship with North Korea in multiple levels. I think one way to approach this is to try to reach more of a common vision with China about how to manage the North Korea's future, particularly in terms of the economic aspects of that future, and to get more coherence in economic engagement policy between the Chinese effort to support marketization, enterprise to enterprise, and investment, with all the problems that that's posing for Chinese enterprises and investors. It's to get more coherence between how Chinese are relating to the North Korean economic system and how South Korea relates to the North Korean economic system. I think that's important to think about. So I'll leave you with a couple of sort of summary of sort of guiding points. First, I want to make sure, that shaping a future political and social order on the peninsula should be a Korean-led process. I don't think anyone in this room would disagree with that. While China and the U.S. are guarantors of the security of the two Koreas, they simply cannot be expected to provide leadership on a unification process. And I think the aim should be to try to replace reliance on overt military face-offs and tension with multidimensional partnerships and mutual beneficial interdependencies. In this regard, I think a peace accord is an important step to consider moving forward in some exploratory discussions, because it's very important for long-term stability, and more attention, I think, in the new phase towards how to remove obstacles and to take advantage of opportunities to move towards a peace accord, particularly given the current situation of their nuclear program, needs to be thought about elevating that on the agenda. I do think the best strategy for dealing with the North is to encourage them and to be patient to make successive choices, to encourage them to make successive choices to make their system a little more compatible with the South. Going down the road of decentralization, trying to get markets to work better, trying to have more decentralized political economy, things where people have a stake in the way they invest their time and resources, are all in the direction that would be positive. And this is a long-term process, but I think that kind of strategy is going to be more effective than trying to simply be a nice older brother and giving them a lot of handouts to keep their system going. And I think it's important to try to find a way to reduce North Korea's need to require an enemy for regime legitimacy. If they don't need an enemy, and if they can be focusing on economic performance as the primary legitimacy for the regime, that'll make it an awful lot easier to find political space to do things that are going to be in the long-term unification interest. I would also rely more on commercial and civil interactions and less on government-to-government transactions. I mentioned that earlier. I just put an underline on that because I think long-term that's going to help create the kind of conditions that our friends have been talking about this morning. They'll be more conducive to a merging of the systems if they can move down that road with your help over the coming years. and to work towards more of a multilateral consensus on a vision for North Korea's economic future. One of the things that strikes me is if you compare South Korean economic engagement policy, Chinese economic engagement policy, what the U.S. is doing in terms of sanctions and disengagement, and the way many European countries are trying to reach out and to help them learn how to make the world work, it just doesn't add up. So finding a more common vision for what kind of direction of economic change would be desirable and getting more coherence in economic engagement policies, I should think would be desirable. So let me conclude with just a couple of short statements. One is North-South relations are at a historically important juncture. I do think the moment is really critical. You have a chance to reset in 2013. It's an opportunity to realign relations, and I think both sides seem to be ready to engage. There's wariness on both sides, but I think that there is a willingness to engage coming up. I think taking stock of long-term factors and the current context is worthwhile at this time. The debates about what is the right way to reshape the relationship, now's the right time to be having these discussions, both in Seoul and in Pyongyang. And I hope that that will lead to a more of a clarity, a vision from these debates in both countries, so that the unification, the relationship, and then the process towards unification can be put on a path that the two Koreas feel will really help them down the unification road, and that the rest of us can support in supporting roles. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your valiant effort to make a brief presentation on a very complicated subject. Next is Professor Yoo Ho-yeol.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, I prepared for 15 minutes presentation in English, but my boss ordered me to make it in 10 minutes. And, well, he was my advisor at the university, so I couldn't help make it short. And therefore, please allow me to speak in Korean. And also, I think my role is today is to make a subject to be clear, and therefore two major discussants here this morning could say more about their views on sunshine policy and MB's policy toward North Korea. Well, 제가 오늘 드릴 말씀은 그동안의 남북 관계와 관련해서 특히 뵙슨 선생께서 햇볕 정책에 대해서 간략히 문제점을 지적을 하셨지만은 사실은 햇볕 정책뿐만 아니라 MB 정부의 대북 정책, 그것을 상생 공영 정책이라 할 수도 있고 또 상호주의 정책이라 할 수도 있고 또 경우에 따라서는 북한에 대한 보다 전략적인 인내를 갖고 접근하는 정책이라고도 설명할 수 있는 이런 MB 정책에 대한 두 정책을 균형되게 우리가 살펴봄으로 해서 지금 60일 남은 한국 대선에 있어서 후보들뿐만 아니라 우리 국민들 또 주변 국가들이 앞으로 남북 관계가 어떻게 전개되는 것이 옳은 길인지에 대한 지혜를 모을 수 있는 그런 계기가 되었으면 하는 생각입니다. 먼저 제가 여기서 문제 제기를 한 것은 남북 관계라고 하는 것은 우리가 그동안의 역사적 경험에서 볼 때 어느 한쪽에 남과 북 어느 한쪽에 상대방에 대한 정책뿐만 아니라 그러한 남과 북을 둘러싼 주변국들의 이해관계와 깊이 연관이 되어 있고 동시에 북쪽도 그렇고 남쪽도 그렇고 각각 내부의 정치적 상황과 깊이 연관되어 있는 매우 복잡한 그런 양상을 갖고 전개되어 왔다. 냉전 시대에는 상대방에 대한 진영 논리로 접근하는 것이 대부분이었습니다마는 특히 지난 20년 동안의 남북 관계가 진전되면서 특히 우리가 독일 통일의 경험을 통해서 남쪽도 그렇고 북쪽도 그렇고 독일 통일이라고 하는 것은 그들의 상대방에 대한 정책과 통일에 대한 그런 비전을 근본적으로 바꾸어 놓았기 때문에 이러한 복합 게임에 접어들었다 이렇게 생각이 됩니다. 저는 이명박 정부의 정책을 그렇게 평가를 합니다. 지금 야당에서 특히 이제 윤석열 선생님께서 아마 매우 명쾌하게 지적을 하실 것으로 생각을 합니다만은 이명박 정부의 정책은 기본적으로 북한에 대한 압박 정책은 아니었다고 봅니다. 이것 역시 우리 신희택 장관께서 설명을 해 주실 거라고 생각이 됩니다만은 북한에 대한 그 압박 정책이라기보다는 초기에 비핵개방 3천이 갖고 있었던 원래 의미는 북한에 대한 좀 더 실용적인 또 신축적인 그런 그 접근이었는데 불행하게도 또는 예상치 못하게 이러한 상황이 어긋났다. 이것은 반드시 이명박 정부를 두둔하거나 또 이명박 정부의 대북 정책을 변명하기 위해서가 아니라 그동안 4년 반 동안의 남북 관계를 보면 그런 상황을 우리가 충분히 이해할 수 있을 것이다 생각합니다. 비핵개방 3천이 북한에서 주장하듯이 비핵이라고 하는 것이 전제 조건이 아닌 것은 이미 현 정부에서도 꾸준히 설명을 해왔고 또 그 내용 자체도 북한의 경제 발전을 하기 위한 그런 그 중장기 전략을 북한에 대해서 또 주변 국가들과 더불어 펴려고 했던 그런 그 정황에서도 충분히 이해가 되는 상황이고 이것은 학자들이 앞으로 또는 역사적으로 앞으로 그 밝혀낼 그런 그 주제라고 생각합니다. 또 하나는 육자회담이라고 하는 것이 북한 핵 문제를 해결하기 위한 유일한 틀이었는데 이것이 지난 2009년 이후로 중단된 상황. 이것은 북한에도 책임이 있고 주변 국가들, 특히 미국과 중국 간의 새로운 경쟁 관계가 잉태한 그러한 그 상황이었다고 생각한다면 현재 남북 관계를 이명박 정부의 대북 정책의 탓으로만 돌리려고 한다면 우리가 현 정부 5년 동안 또 지난 10년 동안의 햇볕 정책에서 얻은 교훈과 또 그러한 그 정책의 어떤 장단점을 살리지 못하는 또 다른 우를 범할 것이라는 그런 생각이 듭니다. 저는 이 한반도 상황을 근본적으로 정책의 문제와 또 상황의 문제라고 생각을 하는데요. 특히 그 북한에 있어서 지난 4년 반이라고 하는 것은 김정일 위원장의 건강 악화가 가져온 북한 체제의 그 파행성 그리고 지난 연말에 김정일 위원장이 사망함으로 해서 오는 북한의 새로운 정세 변화 이것을 정확히 냉정하게 객관적으로 설명하지 않고서는 앞으로 올바른 남북관계를 끌어갈 수 없다고 생각합니다. 저는 한마디로 지금 현재 북한은 불안정한 상황은 아니라고 생각합니다. 김정은으로의 3대 후계 체제가 비교적 안정적으로 이양이 되고 정착이 되는 모습입니다만은 그러나 김정은 체제가 안정적으로 새로운 정책을 펼 것이라고 생각하기에는 아직은 시기상조다. 그렇기 때문에 북한 체제의 불투명성이 앞으로 남북관계에 대한 또는 대북정책이나 통일정책에 있어서 대단히 많은 위험 요소를 안고 있기 때문에 이러한 부분에 대해서 자가당착적인 그런 상황을 만들지 않는 것이 매우 중요하다 이런 생각을 하고 있습니다. 여기 지금 표에 보시면은 금년 또 내년 초에 세계 주요 지도자들이 바뀌고 있습니다. 이미 이 표에 4명의 사진이 나와 있습니다만은 지금 시진핑 부주석이 주석으로 될 것으로 거의 확실시 됩니다만은 오바마 대통령이 다시 재집권을 할지 매우 타이트한 그런 그 경쟁을 벌이고 있고 이미 여기 사진에서 보듯이 불란서에 있어서는 이미 연초에 예측했던 그런 모습에서 상황이 달라졌다 하는 것을 알기 때문에 이 세계적인 그 권력 변화가 금년 말 내년 초에 한반도 정세 남북 관계에 적지 않은 영향을 줄 것이다 이런 생각을 갖고 있습니다. 자, 이러면 우리가 앞으로 남북 관계에 있어서 우리가 해결해 나가야 될 그 과제 2개에 대해서만 말씀을 드리고 앞으로 남북 관계에 대해서 우리가 어떤 정책을 세워야 될 것인가에 대해서 말씀을 드리고 발표를 마치겠습니다. 첫 번째는 핵 문제입니다. 핵 문제는 이미 북한은 김정은 정권이 출범하면서 헌법에 핵 보유 국가로 명시를 했기 때문에 이 육자회담을 위한 사전 조치가 성공적으로 이행이 된다 하더라도 핵 문제를 육자회담에서 단기간 내에 해결하기는 대단히 어려울 것이다. 이런 그 생각을 갖고 있고요. 또 하나는 이 남북 경협에 관해서 우리가 경협이 대단히 중요하다고 하는 것을 압니다만은 북한에서 지금 7일 경제 조치가 10년 전에 그리고 6.28 조치라고 하는 것을 지금 추진하고 있습니다만은 이러한 그 북한의 경제 개혁은 결국 북한의 체제와 근본적으로 연관되어 있기 때문에 이러한 북한 경제가 앞으로 우리가 기대하는 것만큼 개혁 개방 노선을 취하면서 발전하기는 어려울 것이다 하는 그러한 그 부정적인 평가를 내릴 수밖에 없습니다. 그래서 이러한 상황에서 본다면 앞으로 남북 관계에 있어서 우리가 생각해야 될 몇 가지 상황을 정리해 보겠습니다. 여기 지금 3명의 후보가 나와 있습니다. 우리가 지금 이 3명의 후보를 놓고 가장 궁금하게 생각하면서 또 가장 걱정하는 것 중에 하나가 이 3분들이 지금 이제 2달도 남지 않은 선거에서 대북 정책, 외교, 통일, 안보에 대한 구체적인 정책을 발표하지 않고 있다는 것입니다. 개략적으로 어떤 그 방향으로 가고 있다는 것을 우리가 추론을 하고 있습니다만은 이 3분이 경제민주화를 포함해서 모든 정책에 있어서 서로 뭐 일종의 그 공조, 좋게 얘기하면 공조고 또 나쁘게 얘기하면 서로 베끼는 그런 그 수준을 밟고 있기 때문에 정책적 차별을 보일 수가 없다는 것입니다. 그래서 사실은 우리가 이러한 그 대선을 앞두고 남북 관계에 있어서 북쪽만 불투명한 것이 아니라 남쪽도 불투명한 상황에서 앞으로 남북 관계를 전망해야 된다는 그런 그 어려운 점이 있습니다. 자, 저는 이러한 상황에서 우리가 남북 관계를 위해서 앞으로 이 후보들뿐만 아니라 차기 정부가 해야 될 4가지 중요한 과제에 대해서만 말씀드리겠습니다. 첫 번째로는 저희가 생각하고 있는 이 정권 교체기에 초당적인 의사소통이나 협력이 필요한데 우리가 지난 15년 동안의 결과를 보면 우리 정책 결정 과정은 국회의 동의를 얻지 않으면 한 걸음도 나갈 수 없는 게 현실입니다. 그런데 그건 햇볕 정책 때도 그랬고 지금 MB 정부에 있어서도 남북관 관련해서 중요한 법이 아무것도 의회에서 통과되지 못했습니다. 그런데 지금 현재 19대 국회 구성원을 보면은 여야가 거의 동수로 이루어졌기 때문에 차기 정부는 어떤 정부가 구성되더라도 남북 관계에 관해서 적어도 법을 통해서 새로운 상황을 만들어 간다는 것은 대단히 어렵다라고 하는 것을 후보들도 또 우리 국민들도 알아야 된다. 이 남북 관계에 관련한 중요한 정책이 법으로 위반되지 않고서는 다음 정부에 있어서 대북 정책과 관련한 근본적인 변화가 없기 때문에 이러한 점을 염두에 두고 의회를 적극 설득할 수 있는 그런 그 정책과 노력이 필요하다는 생각입니다. 두 번째로는 5.24 조치가 앞으로 어떻게 될 것인가가 남북관계를 가름하는 중요한 시금석인데 현 정부가 이 5.24 조치는 끝까지 갈 것입니다. 그런데 차기 정부가 집권하자마자 5.24 조치 해제를 들고 나온다면 그것은 지금 보수든 진보든 나온다면 북한은 그것을 대단히 잘못된 메시지로 받아들일 가능성이 있기 때문에 5.24 조치에 대한 차기 정부 또 후보들이 보다 명확한 전략적인 입장을 가질 필요가 있다 이런 생각합니다. 세 번째로는 남북 간 합의에 대한 북한은 지속적으로 요구를 하고 있습니다. 6.15 공동선언과 14전언의 이행을 요구하고 있는데 여당에서 집권하게 되면 지금 현 정부의 입장을 유지하면서 계승하면서 북한과 보다 유연한 대화를 할 것이겠지만 그러나 야당이 집권할 경우에는 지난번에 이미 언급했던 것처럼 6.15 공동선언과 14선언을 그대로 계승하는 것에서부터 남북관계로 출발한다고 했는데 이미 NLL 관련해서 논란이 있는 것과 마찬가지로 합의에 충족시키기 위해서는 최소한 100조에 달하는 어마어마한 금액이 드는 것을 어떻게 시행할지 이런 부분에 대한 새로운 도전이 남북관계에 가로놓여 있다 이렇게 생각합니다. 마지막으로 저는 이 한반도 정책이 주변 국가들과 밀접하게 연관되어 있기 때문에 차기 미국 대선의 결과에도 영향을 받을 것이라고 생각하고 중국의 새로운 지도부가 어떻게 한반도 정책을 세울 것인가가 우리의 대북 정책, 남북 관계의 중요한 하나의 그 관건이 된다고 생각합니다. 중요한 것은 우리가 중국과 미국 어느 나라도 소홀히 할 수 없다는 입장에서 과거 햇볕 정책 때 반미면 어떠냐 하고 접근했던 것을 우리가 하나의 반면교사 삼는다면 현 정부에 있어서 미국 중심의 동맹 체제를 중심으로 한 한반도 해법을 역시 교정해 나가는 노력, 그것을 진정성 있게 차기 정부가 가다듬어야 된다 이렇게 생각합니다. 감사합니다.
고맙습니다. Thank you very much. The next speaker will be speakers will be panelists, and the first panelist will be a former Minister of Unification, Mr. Hyun-in Taek.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'd also like to thank Dr. Sagong-il for inviting me to this wonderful conference. I really enjoyed two very excellent presentations. They were well textured, thoughtful and insightful, even though time was very short. As a discussant, I have three very brief questions and comments. First, as both presenters already explained, the current movement by the new Kim Jong-un regime is noteworthy. For instance, they try to induce foreign investment holding a briefing session in Beijing. They also try to enhance the distribution system, giving farmers some incentives. I think they know the problems, but I wonder whether they know the exact remedies. They did the same thing in 2-3 years ago, I remember. Some of you may remember that Kim Yang-gun, the North Korean Minister of Unification Front, established a joint venture to induce foreign investment, I think in 2010, and became chairman of that company. However, the achievement was nothing. They couldn't induce one single case of foreign investment. Another good example is the so-called currency reform or devaluation in December 2009. Of course, I think the currency reform was not aiming at market or economic liberalization. Quite contrary, it attempted to control the market element spread it by Jangmadang, the street market. But anyway, the outcome was a complete failure. Because of this, Bang Nam-gi, the then finance minister, was executed. So I think there is a system failure, but not a human failure. No matter what kind of policy they try, unless they try to do genuine reform or structural change, it is not likely to be successful. Again, under the new leadership, which is much weaker than the previous one in terms of power base, North Korea now tries to do something, as I give you some examples. The question is whether it will be successful. The more fundamental question is, can the Kim Jong-un regime, given its collective type of power configuration, do structural reform or change? Second, the essence of the North Korean question, I think, is the nuclear question. All the problems surrounding the North Korean nuclear question come from North Korea's intransigency on the nuclear issue. As you all understand, for the North Korean regime, nuclear possession seems the primary goal of its military first nation. Especially the North Korean military would not give up its absolute weapons for regime survival. The nuclear issue has been and will be the focal point for the resolution of the North Korean question. If we cannot control, if we cannot solve this problem, there will be actually no peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. The question is, will and can the new regime, that is the Kim Jong-un regime, be more future-oriented than the previous regime? Actually, there hasn't been no major development in the nuclear question during the last 5 years or so. The reason is, as we all understand, there were the second nuclear test and the attacks on the Cheonan and Yanpeng Island. As a result of this, the six-party talks were not properly working. One of the major reasons that we cannot disregard is North Korea's internal factor, more specifically the relationship between the leader and the military. When you go back to the situation of the year 2008, 9, and 2010, it will be much easier to understand. As you know very well, Kim Jong-il had a stroke in 2008. In early 2009, I remember April and May, when Kim Jong-il's health was not quite good, North Korea conducted missile tests and also nuclear tests. In 2010, they attacked the Cheonan and Yeonpyeong Island. They revised the constitution, making the Military Defense Commission the highest organ of the North Korea. The military has been much, much stronger than before, and the leadership has to share his power with the military. Of course, Kim Jong-il had a clear goal at the time. That is, he had to transfer his power to his son. So therefore, he had to rely on the military cooperating or coexisting with them. Now we have the Kim Jong-un regime, as I said, which seems much weaker than his father's regime. Can we expect some kind of a development on this issue? I think that we ask that question at this moment. Lastly, the role of China, I think, is the essential factor for the resolving the issue. The conventional wisdom is that China has two major purposes, which it believes are not easily compatible. China believes that too much pressure on North Korea to dismantle its nuclear program might bring about North Korea's regime collapse. The question seems to me is that, are these two goals really incompatible? Does the dismantle of North Korean nuclear program definitely lead to its regime collapse? The North Korean military, I think, surely thinks like that. But China's strategic position is different. China is also opposing to North Korea's nuclear possession. The problem for them is that the North Korean regime seems too weak, and in the process of denuclearization, the regime will collapse. The Xi Jinping regime, I think, will endure about next 10 years or so. It will probably review its policy toward North Korea, including the nuclear one. I don't know whether the new regime in China would follow its previous policy as it was, or initiate new creative policy on North Korea. But one thing is very clear. We need more positive, active, and creative China's role to solve the nuclear question. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you very much. The next speaker will be Professor Moon Jung-in.
As Brad, thank you very much mentioning about the sunshine policy, but let me just respond for your critique of sunshine policy. First, cash for concession, that took place only during the Kim Dae-jung period. No such a concession, cash concession took place during Norm-Hyun period and afterwards. And North Korea now is educated about that fact. North Koreans knew that they cannot get a cash. Second, Kaesong Industrial Complex was not the trade work by South Korea. It's for mutual gains. It's more gains for our small and medium-sized firms. Therefore, it's a mutual gains, and we are enjoying, as Vice Minister Carstens pointed out, we have been enjoying low wages of North Korea. And third, don't try to change North Korea using the word of change. You can change North Korea when you do not use the word of changes. That's very important. Okay? And also, North Korea is not a normal state, we all know. But we just try to treat North Korea as a normal state. That is the best way of building trust and enhancing changes in North Korea, particularly in the direction of opening and reform. Second, I agree with all of these presenters. Yeah, we have a crisis peace. We have very serious crisis peace. How to resolve that problem? We got promote exchange and cooperation, build the trust, try to come up with a new momentum for peaceful coexistence. There's no other choice. Yes, we have stirred exchanges and cooperation. How can we solve the problem? Yeah, we got we got to start with the resumption of Kumgang Mountain Tourist Complex. And at the same time, we got to come up with very serious deliberation on how to suspend May 24th measures. Okay. We have learned sanctions do not work, particularly when China is factored in. Therefore, keeping that in mind, we got to really re-examine the utility of May 24th measures. Third, yes, as all the presenters have been arguing, we have a crisis of North Korean nuclear issue. North Korea's nuclear capability is getting stronger and stronger. North Korea's delivery vehicle capability, meaning missile capability, has been strengthening. Now is North Korea known to have uranium enrichment program too. Once North Korea began to develop the uranium enrichment capabilities and began to possess uranium bombs, not plutonium bombs, then we can encounter really serious and nightmarish situation on the Korean Peninsula. For that, we need to resuscitate six-party talk processes immediately after new government starts. Six-party talks works. Let us go back to September 19th joint statement very carefully. It has all the good elements. Let us go back to February 13th agreement. North Korea complied up to the second stages. First stage of shutting down of North Korean nuclear facilities in Yongbyon, selling them under the inspection of IAEA. They did it, and also they disabled the nuclear facilities. But it's not insignificant progress. It is very profound progress. Therefore, we can start from that point on by resuscitating six-party talks. It's too early to dump six-party talks. It's like throwing the baby in the bathtub. It's not a good idea. And I still believe in the hope in the six-party talk processes. Yes, we got to pay attention to the rise of China. And how to handle it? We got to pursue more balanced diplomacy. Germany was very smart in dealing with both Soviet Union and the United States, and United Kingdom as well as France. And we got to have that kinds of wisdom. We got to have a lot to learn from Bismarck from 1870 to 1890. Okay, how he pursued so-called very balanced diplomacy in bringing Germany to center of European diplomacy, and also making Berlin as diplomatic hub of Europe. And I think we can do that if we have good wisdom and prudence and imagination. Like, you are smiling, right? You're very happy. Mr. Carsten is very happy. Then what is my suggestions? Yes, principle is important, but the goal is more important principle. Goal is what? How to enhance peace, how to enhance prosperity on the Korean Peninsula. For that, we need to employ pragmatism. What should be the basis of pragmatism? First, I strongly believe there got to be separation of politics from economics. If they both factors intertwined, then we cannot make progress. In Korea, as long as North Korea exists, we cannot get rid of conflict on the Korean Peninsula. Our best strategy should be how to minimize conflict while maximizing cooperation. That being the case, then separation of politics from economics should be very, very important pragmatic principle to guide our terms of engagement with North Korea. Another one, you start with the easy things and do it difficult things later. You cannot solve the North Korean nuclear problem at once. Then we become captive of North Korean nuclear quagmire. If you start easy things like economic exchange and cooperation, commercial transactions, then you move into politics, military, and even nuclear issues. As long as you build the trust by engaging in easy things first, then you can build the trust. Then that trust will prevent further escalation of military conflict and nuclear quagmire. Third, as Brad pointed out, let citizens, civilians, NGOs go first, and government can follow. Government does not have to be the first, because we have opened inter-Korean relations. We have channels in North Koreans. Therefore, government simply can follow. Therefore, authority talks, the government-to-government talks can come later once civilians, firms, NGOs paved the way. Government cannot monopolize inter-Korean relations. Fourth, economics should be the engine of resuscitating inter-Korean relations. Economic business firms are the best way of rebuilding trust with North Korea. Of course, North Korea should come up with all kinds of reforms. As Brad Babson has been arguing, transparency in economic data, okay? The cultivation of new entrepreneurial classes who can handle capitalistic transactions, and also major economic institutional reforms. But I think North Korea would do it. They tried July 2002. I think that basic policy guideline hasn't changed yet. Therefore, I think that if we can utilize economic agent as a way of fostering change in North Korea and fostering inter-Korean exchange and cooperation, I think that will work. Finally, that really goes back to the reciprocity. Reciprocity has two phases. You go back to World Trade Organization. It has three major principles. One is non-discrimination. Second is reciprocity. Third is transparency. But World Trade Organization's reciprocity is so-called the diffuse reciprocity. You can give first, you can take later. You cannot balance out every trade transactions. But on the other hand, you can think about economic and mechanical reciprocity. I give you $100, I take $100 worth of goods and services from you. But in dealing with North Korea, diffuse reciprocity embodied in WTO principles and norms seems to be more effective than mechanical reciprocity. Therefore, give first, take later. And this will change inter-Korean relations and will open new horizon for joint prosperity on the Korean Peninsula. Thank you.
Well, first of all, let me thank the organizers for the opportunity to present some remarks here. When I was invited to this conference, and in particular when I realized that I was on a panel for this session, well, I thought, what kind of message are the organizers expecting from me? I mean, I'm a macroeconomist, I'm a mainstream macroeconomist. I mean, I'm doing theoretical work. I'm trained as a mathematician and as an economist. Usually when I'm presenting papers, then I'm talking about, formal modeling, differential equations, numerical problems, solving numerical problems and issues like that. Probably no one here is interested in that. Okay, so something else has to be delivered, and I'm trying to do that by making a few remarks. This is not so easy because up to about an hour ago I was expected to talk here for 10 minutes. Now they have told me that they would like me to talk for 5 minutes, so I'll do my best. I'm going through the slides I've prepared. The slides are available in the folder, so probably everyone has that. Let me make one remark at the beginning. The overall topic of the conference is unification. The subtopic of this session here is, challenges, maybe challenges and opportunities. The first issue I would like to raise is unification and the timing issue. From a German perspective, I think it's fair to say that no one has expected Germanification to occur in 1998. Even 1988, no one has expected German unification, and actually even in summer 1989, no one has expected German unification. I don't want to blame political scientists for being bad in this. Economists are usually blamed for, not predicting recessions, and climate people are, pretty bad in predicting the future climate. Well, they say it's warming, but, warming may mean 1 or 6 degrees, which is an incredible range and makes a huge difference in terms of living. Has anyone predicted the uprisings in Northern Africa this year? Well, afterwards, everyone was very aware of good reasons why this should have happened. Okay? But ex ante, no one has predicted that. So we have to admit that we are all pretty bad in these kind of projections. Therefore, I don't think we should talk about that, okay? Let's just talk about unification and some challenges which are arising or may arise. And what I would like to do is to communicate two things. I would like to mainly talk about migration. I think this is a big issue, and this is some issue which is not taken into account in a proper way. I not only think this is a challenge, what I would like to communicate is that actually migration is a big opportunity. Okay, going through my slides, for those who are, interested in the background of what we have done in terms of more formal modeling, The Economist has, recently had, about a year ago, a one page on the two Koreans and unification issues. You can see that. And they have summarized our work there. So anyone who is interested in that, just type in my name and the title in the search function of the Economist website, and you're there. Okay. When you talk about migration, then you have to take into account what are the effects of migration. Will migration actually occur, yes or no? And what are the effects? What has happened in Germany? Well, in Germany, so far, 10 to 15% of the population has moved from the east to the west. There are slight differences across states. I'm aware of that. But on average, more than 10% of the population has actually moved. There were different waves, a first wave and a second wave. And in particular, people who moved were those who were young, okay? And in particular, those who moved were better educated. The question is this good or bad? Okay. Well, the lesson I would like to communicate here is that this is something actually South Korea should encourage. Okay? You should be prepared for that. This is a big thing, and you should encourage that. Why? Well, the reason why migration may help you a lot is that the costs of unification will be pretty high. The costs of unification in the Korean case will be much, much higher than in the German case. And in the German case, so far we are paying 5% of GDP since unification in terms of transfers, which is about 10% of our tax revenues since unification, okay, since 1990. This is a background number. 5% of GDP, 10% of the overall tax revenues. If you apply the same style of model, unification model, to the Korean case, taking into account that much more people are living in the north and they are much poorer, this kind of unification strategy is more or less infeasible. The transfers which are required to have a German type of model imply that you would have to transfer about, over the same period, up to 40% of your tax revenues. Okay, this is not feasible at all. You are facing this. You have to face these type of realities. Well, the question then is, when this is not feasible, what might help? And one thing which might help is actually migration. Okay, if you assume that, let's assume 2 million people, 4 million people, 6 million people, 8 million people, or even 10 million people are migrating from the north to the south, then this would reduce the burden of unification substantially. This is the lesson I would like to give, and if you're interested in that, and if you go, let's assume, for example, on slide number 11, there you can see, maybe you can put this slide on. If you go on slide number 11, they can see what is actually happening. X is the share of South Korean tax revenues going to North Korea, and this is going down from 45% to about 30%. The second message, so migration is not just a problem. It is an opportunity to deal with unification costs. The second issue is that people have to be prepared for that. I mean, I know from the German perspective that migration also is a political issue. Societies have to be prepared for that, and I think yesterday or even this morning we have talked about that societies have to be prepared mentally for these kind of issues. Societies have to be prepared for mentally that this is going to happen and that this is a good thing. Beyond these issues of reducing unification costs, one mechanism which may be very helpful is if you have people migrating from the north to the south, then you will probably have a lot of remittances going from these people back to the north, and this will help economic development in the north. So what I would suggest is to start with some dialogue on these issues, mainly inside South Korea. This implies that you have to talk about civil society issues and how you're dealing with this. What is required is probably some kind of political confidence building within South Korea that this is going to happen. It will happen. I can tell you from the German perspective, it will happen. Okay? You can try to avoid that. You cannot avoid it. And the question is, are these people welcome? Are you promoting this? Are you helping these people to find jobs? Are you helping these people to create the human capital which is required for them to be productive in the South? Yes or no? I would say a proactive approach in that respect would be very helpful. Nevertheless, in the summary, the path to a market economy will no doubt be bumpy. It will take a long time. That's another issue we can learn from the German perspective. The German politicians have promised unification to occur over a weekend or over a month or whatever, okay? Chancellor Kohl has made these statements, okay? We know that in the German case, East Germany has started with GDP per capita, which was about 30% of the West German level. Now we have reached 2/3, so 67. We have gained a lot, okay? I've told you we have already paid a lot for that, okay? But we are still not there where we would like to be. Unification issues, the transformation of an economy like the one in Eastern Germany or in North Korea will take at least a generation in the North Korean case because the initial conditions are much, much worse, probably 2 generations. Again, that's a political issue that the society has to be prepared for that. Okay, when politicians don't openly talk about that, that's a very, very bad start. Okay, I've made a number of, fairly negative, or not negative, but they may sound negative to some people in the room, statements. I would like to make a positive one, namely that despite these problems, Korea has the chance not to make some of the pitfalls we have made. And being better prepared, although we don't know when it's going to happen, is one of the advantages, and I can only hope that you take this chance and in particular take the political steps and this kind of message, communicating these kind of economic issues to a wider audience so that when the time is coming that the right steps will be taken. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I'm sure there are many questions and comments from the floor and among the panelists. Unfortunately, we don't really have time for that. We're already beyond our time limit, but I'll give each of our presenters, even though there were no specific questions, just 1 minute of time to...
I'm just going to focus on one issue. And I agree that it's impossible to think of unification process that results in North Korea retaining control over a nuclear weapons capability, and that's a very fundamental difference from the issues that Germany had to cope with in their process. I do think that, recent analysis among analysts in America concludes that North Korea will have between 12 and 20 nuclear weapons by 2015, and there's nothing we can do about it. And that's the low end of the spectrum. If they have been militarizing their HEU program, if they're successful in getting the new plutonium power plant to produce weapons-grade plutonium, the number could be almost 50. We've lost the battle of preventing North Korea from becoming a nuclear state, so we have to change strategy. If we want them to denuclearize, we have to give them a reason to denuclearize, and the answer is a peace accord. And so I think the game has to change shape. It's no longer whether it's a six-party talks or strategic patience. Letting North Korea continue to build their nuclear program while we sit on the sidelines and do nothing, or offer them rather meaningless economic inducements to make nuclear changements, isn't going to work. I think it's important to rethink the way we want to engage North Korea's willingness to change their security economic equation. Helping them make the transition to looking at economic development as their primary rationale for regime survival and legitimacy, reducing the need for them to maintain an enemy and maintain a nuclear stock in order to feel secure about their future. That is the challenge, and that's the challenge primarily for inter-Korean relations. It won't happen unless you find a way to help them step down and look at their future in a very different way than they have in the past, in the way they're looking at it now. And I put that squarely on the shoulders of South Korea to come up with a strategy that will help to engage North Korea to walk down that road in sequential, if not dismantlement, at least beginning to have reciprocal steps on the security side that is linked to a process of building up their confidence of an economic future that they feel that will give them the security that they need. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. My point was that I think there are various scenarios for North Korea's future and the future Korean peninsula, because as Professor Hyun mentioned, that the North Korean new leadership is weaker, and there are some report about the internal dynamics or cleavages among the top elite in North Korea, and therefore I think it is time for us to prepare for the possibility of North Korean future, and therefore I think there is absolutely no reason for us to believe that North Korea could be maintained for a long time under Kim Jong-un or North Korean regime, and therefore I think it's possible to make change in North Korea, the North Korean regime itself as well as North Korean policy, and therefore I think for the future agenda for us is to how to make North Korean change, how to make North Korean people to believe they have alternative future with South Korea and for the future unification. And therefore, I think it is necessary for us to think about the engagement policy is one of the options that we can make it, but we have also always prepared for the alternative to bring a peace and unification at the same time. Thank you.
Okay. That will end the first session. Let's thank our panelists and speakers. You want to? Okay.
I would like to make at least one remark. I mean, what I don't really understand is that the differences between the German case and the Korean case are so much overemphasized. I mean, it's true that Eastern Germany had no nuclear weapons, but the peace issue, for example, was as important in the German case as in the Korean case. I mean, when you remember the so-called 4+2 talks, which started, to prepare German unification, a key issue in these talks were that Germany agreed to the western Polish border, and the peace with Poland was a key issue which made German unification possible. The second point is that maybe some people here are not aware of that. In the so-called 4+2 talks, 4+2 means the Russians, the Americans, the Brits, and the French, the two Germans. In these peace talks, I mean, there were two who didn't agree to German unification, namely Britain and France. Essentially, in these kind of talks, I mean, the Russians and the Americans and the two Germans voted in favor of German unification against the French and against the Brits. So this was the reality. So it was not some kind of consensus within Europe which has led to German unification. There were, I mean, fairly difficult diplomatic issues which had to be solved to make German unification be successful. So I don't think, my view is that there are substantial differences, but these differences are more gradual than some people believe them to be. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Now the applause is for